Did you say we hallucinate reality? Is that what you said?
Uh, Me? Yeah, I think
When we
we
sleep,
kind of yeah.
when we sleeping, we're 100% hallucinating reality.
No, what about when
I think
when we're just awake? Are we? Is that what you meant? Just when we're experiencing
yeah.
life?
That's why like what is it? The whole thing of objectivity. Like when I took acid, dude, I didn't know. Like a mate of mine asked me to help him out with like, so I was just trying to keep active and I was losing it a little bit, and I was like, okay, I just gotta. And he asked me to pick up the mat, like grab the mattress for him. And I was looking down on the ground, looking for the mattress. Like we were setting up for a camping thing, and I couldn't find the mattress. You know, I was staring right at it. I'd completely lost objectivity. So if you asked me what a chair was at that point, I was starting to really lose the notion of what a chair is and all the rest of it. So I think we sort of do hallucinate it in that sense. We symbolize, like it becomes a symbol, and we just sort of like chair, like, you know, as you sort of work your way through the world, chair, you know, desk, table, building, whatever it may be, road, car. But when you take the acid stuff, man, you seem to lose that objectivity a lot.
Yeah. Do you know what they know? They generally ask someone who has a head injury what year it is.
Do you get where I'm coming from, Gio?
Yeah, yeah. I do. I was following everything you were saying. Yeah.
I'm getting it too. You're attempting to prescribe me with this idea that I am not sane.
No one's saying, bro.
You don't like those lights in the sky is what we prescribe you to.
You think I'm
No, I
not
mean, like,
aware
yeah.
enough to actually hear anything of what you're saying?
Tarek, real quick with LSD, dude. Yeah, people have had like unitive experiences, like with, like, yeah, it can be very powerful within consciousness of what it can shift. Like people have had like, yeah, unitive experiences like with their environment, of becoming one with their environment, or like becoming one with like nature.
Dude, like at that point I was at a festival and I was really worried at that point. I was like, dude, I'm gonna get confused. Like I'm gonna confuse the toilet with the dance floor, or the floor, like dance floor with the toilet. That's one of the like funny ideas that ran through my head. I was like, shit, I'm gonna have to be really conscientious here because like
You see, your imagination is now, you're on borderline between reality and what the imagination can do. And the imagination can construe for you the felt sense of reality being as real as it is when you're walking outside, believing that you are doing this and that, etc.
How important is your time? Is your time priceless?
Dude, that sounds like kind of a nightmare though. If you were like having to like move stuff like mattresses or set stuff up while you're tripping, like that is not how you want to be coming onto LSD, especially if it's like your first time. You want to be able to be like chilling. Depends on your dosage too, but yeah, that's always overwhelming. If you have to like do stuff, like you don't want to have to do stuff IRL necessarily.
What about a picture? That picture? That one time?
what picture?
I remember Jeremy and I think someone else was mentioning a pitcher who took LSD and had a perfect game.
Oh yeah, Doc Ellis. He pitched a no-hitter.
No hitter. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, he's one of the only like. There's only like 326 people in the history of the world that have ever pitched a no-hitter, and he's one of them, I guess. Yeah.
He honed in.
Well, LSD does seem to give like some like almost like superpower to like your senses and things. So perhaps at like lower and medium doses, it definitely seems to heighten the senses and things.
What is the hangover for LSD?
Well, if it's clean LSD, like very, very pure, there'll be none. Other than the experience, which can still be occurring, and there is a whole process that can unfold with it. But in terms of that, but unfortunately, a lot of LSD that's made nowadays is basically like they don't purify it. Like they have to remove like any extraneous alkaloids, and those extraneous alkaloids can cause like body aches or like headaches and things like that because they're not really supposed to be in there. They're like toxic other alkaloids that they didn't purify out. So that can cause like some of those symptoms that can be unpleasant because of that though, not because of the LSD.
I'd say
I really recommend everybody stick with mushrooms.
Yeah, LSD is chemistry. It's chemistry is the issue. Unless you know you can get really pure, yeah. Nature always does it best.
Would you like to be
Deep.
permanently stoned or permanently sober if you had to choose one?
Sober.
Nice.
You see, oh man,
I don't know. Are the majority of humans sober or intoxicated?
Great point.
Like, what percentage are just always like, dude? If you were like in God's mind or whatever, like the Creator's mind, and you're just like the whole world and everything's happening, like, what percentage of people, like at any one time, are just intoxicated? You know, is it more than 50-50 on the whole Earth? And I bet that's changed over time too. And I guess
Sure.
intoxicated is a very general sense. I guess that could mean anything. I guess, you know, I mean, but
Yeah.
if we're going coffee, then it's like if we're adding
Yeah.
that, you know, coffee, cannabis, and tobacco, then I guess that's covers probably almost everyone somewhere.
Yeah.
Too much McDonald's in your stone too, though.
yeah, but well,
Those
okay.
those 500
Just
pound
another
people
person.
eating McDonald's, they're fucking stoned out of their mind eating McDonald's.
Well, they sure are. They sure have lost ground of reality. That's for sure.
Yeah, quarter pounders.
But you see, when you just point to them and laugh at them, you're actually shaming something that doesn't understand what it is living. So you're conditioning yourself actually to belittle something that you should actually care for.
Definitely. Yeah.
No.
So you
Clown
don't want to
making
go
burgers apparently, man. So let's just avoid the Don't get your burgers from a clown.
Well, it was just that question you were saying, like, would you rather be sober or, well, you said stoned, so I guess if you meant cannabis or what
Like
you
you
might have meant.
know,
But I was saying, like, from like source of creation's perspective, does it prefer humans sober or somewhat intoxicated? If you add all humans on Earth, like, is it overall doing more than 50% sober or more than 50%, you know, in some way intoxicated of all humans of just what exists? If you were to somehow take everyone a snapshot of the whole world at any time, at any one time.
Well, only a predator who needs to deceive another needs to intoxicate them so they're not self-aware of their surroundings.
true.
But this is like someone like the prey almost in this case is intoxicating itself.
Yeah, well, you also live in such a toxic society that the prey itself intoxicates itself in order to be preyed upon. It's still just the same deceased hunting ground. It's the same environment.
Yeah, sure. I mostly brought this up as just while we were talking about like the nature of reality or something, and I just wanted to bring up. I mean, whatever the drugs do, it seems to assist with a shift in sort of dimensional understanding or something that's going on there. And it's not that you want to stay in that state, but it is kind of very advantageous to like go out of the sober mind for at least a little bit to sort of, I mean, this is the concept of killing one's darlings a little bit for me. It just sort of breaks down the preconceptions and the stereotyping you've done throughout your life, and you can potentially sort of do a reset on those. It can also become highly problematic as well, so we acknowledge that. You can sort of want to lose yourself and be lost in that for too long a time.
Great point. Yeah, maybe it's a double-edged sword, but yeah, a lot of benefits. And yeah, interesting.
Well, how aware do you actually want to be of yourself is really what you're asking. Do you want to live in the realm of fantasy? Or do you actually want to develop a skill to
Being
discern
aware
what's
of,
real?
yeah, but one can become very obsessed with the self as well, so that's problematic. You know, I don't know, like everything should be obsessed with one another. If you get my drift, like,
Well, you can suddenly become Jeran.
good luck.
Hey, did you guys see like his last video? I don't really watch his videos, but I guess they still kind of pop up on my feed. And the title was, did you guys see what like Jeranism? His title today was something like the this is the last flat Earth video, or the last time I'll ever talk about flat Earth ever again, is what he said. That was his name. That was the
I don't
title of his
believe
video,
it.
pretty much.
I
Good
don't
on
believe
him.
it.
If he holds to it.
He's not gonna watch. It's gonna keep going. Something's gonna keep going. It's gonna be on a show or movie or something. It's gonna be continuous.
Well, dude, I mean, his logo for his entire thing right now, his channel, is a AE map with a huge red X through it that says Jeranism, and then the banner thing is the picture actually from the ALE website that shows the sun in the south, like behind that mountain, and then it's his little tagline says "Always honest, sometimes right." But his whole thing has this AE map. But then this stream he did today is called. Here's what it's called. It says "The End." This is Jeranism stream today. Friday Unplugged. The End. My last stream about the flat Earth. You can keep it. And then here, I'll read what he wrote. How about this? Because I read it earlier, so I'll read it again. This is Jeranism. This is what he wrote in his description. He says this is from just he streamed it 12 hours ago. He says this is the final stream I will do on the flat Earth. The last thing I want to do is to keep trying to wake up those who have no desire to wake up. So this will be the end of my flat Earth debunking. The flat Earth has nothing left but cult members who lie. That's what he said. And then he says, what is the future of the flat Earth movement? Those who call me a shill or liar simply cannot refute my claims, so they resort to name calling. What would you do if you were a truther and found out that truthers don't actually want the truth? Truthers want conspiracy, not truth. Makes it a difficult moral decision, doesn't it? I'll just read the rest of his thing here. He says, well, if it has to be me, then so be it. My other option is to lie, to teach a lie, and to push a lie. Sorry if you have to be the only truther. I'm telling you the truth, and that's what I will do. I would rather be hated for telling the truth than loved for telling a lie. There are plenty of people who will lie to you. It is your choice who to listen to. That's what he wrote. So I don't know. That's not me. Those are not my words. Those are Jeranism's words from his channel, just obviously for the record. But yeah, he wrote that.
You can state all that and make it sound as if you are genuine, when in fact actually it's just a deceit in order to market and get money. #fame.
So you're saying he's doing it just to get more kind of whatever, and then he's going to keep talking about it because
dude, whatever he's saying is like dead air. What is he actually saying?
It's a billboard. Like, if you're gonna leave flat Earth and stop talking about it, you just do that.
Yeah, but he keeps talking about it and creates a lot of money out of just gossip. Like reframing, and as the more you can just like look at the moving images on the screen, and time is ticking, that you are somehow, well, it's so important to measure this time, but yet you are like forgetting it all the time, so you devalue yourself. And suddenly, like, yeah, moving pictures, moving images, yeah, a lot of Jeranism.
I like how it says here.
Right?
What are you gonna do with it?
It was cringe even reading that. And it was also like the font was really tiny on my screen. I should have zoomed it in a little bit. It was too far away, so that's why I had a hard time. Like, I didn't really read it properly.
It was cringe for me stumbling on my words.
I mostly did, but no. But the thing about it is, he says right here, the one part here, it says the flat Earth has nothing left but cult members who lie. And then it says Cash App at Jeranism, PayPal.me. Like right after it throws up. But then it does the second paragraph where he goes on about the future of the flat Earth movement. So he literally put the Cash App in right after it said that.
Wow.
So I mean, like, he's setting himself up if he wants to accuse these people, like this side, of being liars and the cult and all the rest of it, and he continues to talk about FE. I mean, you can just throw the accusation.
I'm super sorry, Gio. Is there any way you can repeat that last few lines you said to me? Because I'm trying. Well, never mind. We're doing a little Jeranism thing too, not just whatever. Is there any way you can repeat what the hell you just said about some Cash App shit? Right? Like milking us like cow again over here?
What's going on?
Yeah. Here, I'll post it. This is from here, I'll post it right now.
Thank you, sweetheart. Sorry. Hey, Gio, is there any possibility, please bear with me, between me and you as friends, that there isn't something that you see here a little fishy now, Jeran? Just a little bit. That we were talking about before it happened, that we didn't trust Jeran. Is there anything that feels that way with you now? Maybe, no? Or just, because I know you've met him. Is it different now or no?
Well, I never really had any kind of allegiance to him in any way or anything like that. I mean, I always like appreciated, I mean, I never really was like even a big subscriber of his channel. I normally watched him on Glowbusters is mostly what I remember. And then, yeah, I did listen like when he did that show with like David Weiss and then yeah, with the Alex Stein thing, like I guess they had those shows. Yeah, so I used to listen to those when they like Jeran and David Weiss. Boy, you think what a different time that was. Yeah, when they used to do that show together.
Right.
I was always kind of like neutral on Jeran. I mean, I thought he seemed genuine in various ways. And I don't think that I never had the sense that he was like an operative or anything like that, like a full blown agent operative. Now, could there be some kind of compromising thing that has occurred now? That is possible. I mean, I think we've all probably considered that. He definitely seems totally different now. He's nowhere near the same as he used to be. I mean, if okay, back then, if this is what his content was now back then, yeah, I never would have even watched his channel at all, you know. So
Right.
yeah, so he's way different now. He's
You know,
way more toxic, degrading, totally
Militant.
different
I had a
logic.
conversation
Yeah, it's toxic. Yeah.
on Jim's server yesterday about a lot of it. And I did bring up Jaren's shit, and I brought it back to the past and how things used to be through a lot of this, right? And we didn't go to the skies. This observation wouldn't have mattered anyway, not to the point of what we actually are standing on, right? Still didn't change anything, and we needed to go back to those old school ways. For some reason, people have lost that plot. I don't know how anyone has been a big content creator who has stood there and said this shit knows it just like us, hon. That observation shouldn't have mattered to that man. But for heaven's sakes, he went straight to fucking TV and everything as quick as possible. And he had nothing to say besides basically, X this shit out, flat earth is over, done, done, done. That is not someone who's ever felt and lived and breathed flat earth. I'm sorry. As a real human being, if you really care about this shit, you don't just flip on an observation in the sky because you know what the hell you've been standing on and observing this whole damn time. What we've been talking about for years, not the old school people from the beginning. Come on now. This ain't a ranty. You know what I'm saying,
Exactly.
sweetheart? So between me and you, this don't seem right. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't cool at one time. I don't effing know. I'm not saying agent, but something isn't okay with the whole situation. That's what's messed
Yeah,
up.
I hear you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's completely inconsistent on all those levels. Exactly. And if he really did have something that was a reason to go back to the globe, he'd be able to present that, you know, fully to the community. Be like, "Hey guys, I found the curve" or something, you know. Well, I mean, when I met him back then, like I basically met him 3 times. I met him like because he said that anyone who wanted to show up could go to that when the thing that ended up in the behind the curve thing. Even though it ended up in that, I did meet him at that, and then there were 2 other flat Earth meetups that were both like in Sacramento, and both of those like I pretty much did like hang out with him pretty much the whole time, like and talk to him. Like I was talking to him quite a bit about lots of things, but like it was kind of still more surface level though, you know, because obviously it was in public. It was the first time all these people were meeting him. Like I was kind of chilling there with him, and him and I were having talks about like certain ththings, about like certain tests and stuff like that were being discussed on Glowbusters. Because I was like, I want to make some use of the time if I'm with Jeranism, you know, like I actually am here to hang out with him. So like, and so I was kind of like holding kind of the main kind of conversation, and then people would come up and be like, "Hey, Jeran," and like want to meet him and give him a hug and stuff, and then they would walk by, and then Jeran and I would continue the convo, and then other people would come up, and then etc. And then we just kind of kept the whole in that way. So yeah, so I mean in that way, but that was still pretty like surface level. So it's not like I really knew him, and I never really like connected with him beyond after that really so much at all. So anyway, so I've only kind of met him those few times. Is my only like real direct interaction. Other than that, just listening to his shows here and there. But I've always been kind of neutral on him. But yeah, I mean, the way that what he's doing now, yeah, you're right. It's just totally well, and then just like none of us are doing what he's doing. So it's obvious that like he's kind of like the only one that's doing it. So it's not even
I just think it's a little weird that he was asked. I already thought he was fishy in the first place. A lot of us did. We already went through our problems with Jeran. He ain't even here, by the way, so nobody has any kind of bond with him in that aspect. No one, I don't think anyone does really. So you can't, you know what I mean? And then it's just like he has to have what's it to go. Has to. It seems a little weird too. And And then we come back and it gets this and corrupted data and no data on our side. Just all of it seems like, what the hell is going on? Don't know what's in your backpacks. I mean, listen, we've talked about this for so many, many years. This was an opportunity. And I know we can be a little weird on Discord sometimes, or we can drink, or we can have fun, or we can do stupid shit. But this was not that. This is not Discord. This is something professional. It should have been handled professionally, and it wasn't. That's where I went, well, what's going on here? We took too much time over these years to waste it, and it felt like it was wasted, and it's a mockery. And when I look back at the people at home now, they have such a bad taste in their mouth. I couldn't believe the questions I'm being asked, and it makes me feel like if we actually go out here and try to be, some activist work or get on the streets again, any kind of tour again, any kind of real actual shit again, it's going to be a freaking battle. Because during these times, they should have said something. Instead of saying, oh, guess what, guys, 24 hours sun, they also should have said, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's okay. They should talk about this shit.
And then can I those are all definitely, there's a lot of potent points there that we could unpack more, but I just want to say too, like, can we also maybe, just basically that, like, I was thinking today how, like, Witsit was, like, with us pretty much, like, every day before he went, leading up to it. When he was there, he came on this live stream even. We were talking, all that stuff. And now maybe he is just taking a break. And he did mention that he was maybe thinking of taking a break the last time he was here, I think. So, like, that's understandable. But I just wanted to add that in too. Like, maybe even as a community, like, we are kind of like, now we're just like, not Witsit's just like kind of a little bit MIA. I mean, at least somewhat. Like, I know he's still doing some of his shows. He did that debate and stuff. But in terms of his connection here, like, it's been a pretty, like, I'm not saying just here, and there's no reason on this server, there's no, like, tension other than there were times when those guys were attacking him, like QOP and, like, Jesse. Like, there were times when, like, after their Antarctica trip, and that was hectic. But I mean, I DM'd with Witsit thoroughly, and I told him, like, dude, like, don't, like, worry about them. Like, we can mod them, mute them, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe, like, that was all being talked about at the time, but, like, I just wanted to make sure Witsit knew that, like, it's not like every time he comes here we're just going to let the people just completely attack him and stuff. But it was heated at the time or whatever. So I don't really think it's that, but it just seems like at least Witsit's connection with, like, kind of, yeah, basically, if you want to just say, like, the Discord world, because that's where, in terms of that, like, of the whole community, I think he pretty much just hasn't been around for a few months now, as far as I know.
It's totally different when it comes to Witsit because we have a connection with Witsit. He's been here. So there's going to be a deeper personal connection of anything that goes on. And unfortunately, Witsit's probably getting a lot more difficult than even Jeran should be. Jeran should be getting more shit than anyone. But unfortunately, Witsit's getting it because he has such a personal connection with people that Jeran's never actually dove in to give anyone. So I will say that too. It's not fair in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Stacey.
To be honest, we should be pissed at
Well,
Jeran more than anything.
Well, I don't know why. Like, I mean, I know Witsit's done a few of his own streams, and then he did that debate con thing. So I mean, he's still, like, out there doing stuff. But it just seems like he was kind of, like, hanging out with us pretty regularly, and then it seems like after the trip, there was that hecticness after it, and then yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of. I mean, if maybe he needed a break or whatever it may be, but yeah, I mean, and then also the fact that Jeran did the whole flip too, it makes it even a little more intense, So maybe, I don't know if Witsit's purposely thinking, hey, maybe we'll kind of let this, let some time go by, because I mean, basically now, like, Witsit's the only guy that, like, because now Jeran's done that, and then Witsit kind of lost, like, the kind of maybe the connection with Jeran because they were like bros that were gonna at least kind of. And Jeran was not really saying he was going to flip or whatever, even if he saw it, and then he did. So then it's like, now what? It's a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, I mean, did this overall?
Last time I spoke to him, I'm like, you got Jeran's back right now, still all day long. But does Jeran have yours? Because I don't see that. You know what I mean? Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, he seems to be on a militant streak right now on the attack. But Stacey, don't worry, if any of these Globe Geeks get you down, just ask them for an uncut video from Earth to far enough away. They don't have it.
Exactly, honey. 100%. So true. And and forgive everybody. People, like, we have fun with it. I'm kidding. There's a diss track out. I get y'all, and there's that Yo Witsit laying. We started in the very beginning after he came back. It's just like marketing, branding happened to work out perfectly because he disappeared. Sorry, it's just how life goes sometimes. But to be honest, I think we all need to start focusing on what's really happened here. because it's actually taken a big hit to people and where they're headed in life or what they're looking for in life. And we got people like Jeran who went and look at his logo, a big X on flat Earth. If you're done, I remember when he came back, he said he was done. I'm done, guys. Well, if you're done, then why the hell are you here? And you're still like a Glober now. You're doing exactly what the Globers did to us. Mm-mm. Completely flip. And that's all his content is now. And it's like he can't stop doing it.
Well, that's why I was reading that thing, because apparently, like, he's saying that this is it. He's no longer going to talk about flat Earth. So, I mean, the logo is a huge AE map with a red X. So, I don't know what he's going to do. Like, is he just giving up on his channel, or is he going to, like, what is he going to do content on? Because this whole thing has just been, this. So, does he have anything else he
Calling
does?
out. I don't know if you've seen his
I guess.
Facebook posts. His Facebook posts are ridiculous. All he's doing is calling out Alex Music Guru, every single person for being a piece of nasty shit, basically. I mean, he's just, yeah.
I hope he gets a job at
Also,
NASA. Imagine he gets a job at NASA.
See, the thing is, when I met him, though, I just have to say, and obviously, like, I don't expect you guys to just, like, in some way kind of believe me or even make any judgment on it, I suppose, but you can also just hear my testimony. Like, I just really did not get the vibe in any way that he was, like, an actual, operative or agent or shill. Like, I do think he's just, like, a guy that was born somewhere. Like, that's really what I think, like, in that level, just energetically, all of that. Now, could he have mental stuff or psychological, spiritual? Sure, we all do, like, whatever's going on there. And then could there be an actual compromise situation where somebody did come to him, or there's maybe he's in a bind, or there's something legal going on, which I think, people claim sometimes, like, if someone gets caught doing something or whatever, and then they have to now, was he, like, forced to change sides or something? That's all, like, open to speculation. I mean, he's a very different person than he was even 3 months ago, even 6 months ago. Like, I was actually watching a video of him before they went. Remember they had that one on his channel with Witsit and Lisbeth and I think the guy Mark, and Jeran was, like, kind of like his old self. So yeah, I don't know. Someone's gonna make a theory that they replaced him with an evil clone. I don't know, an evil dwarf clone.
I haven't done that yet, but so maybe. I'm kidding.
And now he's just shredding the community apart. And I mean, yeah, well, what went on? Jeez. None of us are flipping to globes because of that, so that's not logical. So it's got to be about something else.
Well, I will say this. I was listening to, it's been a while ago. I was in a different place. I'm not sure at the time, but I think it was Roasted Soul. Listen, she ain't speaking that often around here, but I'll just say that night when I was listening to some of the shit that came out of her mouth, it blew me out of the water, because some of the stuff that she had said, I ain't heard anybody say. I'm the only person who has said that was Finn and someone else, and it's some weird ass shit. And I won't go into details, but I want to talk to Roasted Soul, because she has some background stories that no one knows on Discord. And I only know about things, so I want to talk to her, because there's things that we all hear. There's things also that go on in the background that nobody knows about. Only a few people get to know about. So good on her, because whatever she was talking about, y'all might think she's crazy, but some of the shit she said might actually be some truth to it, actually. Rusted Soul, if you're hearing me, come out here, girl. Talk to me. Eventually. It doesn't have to be on here, though. Can I be with you? You know why I'm mad, though? I'm really actually mad. I went so mad, because I remember sitting on the server and talking to Witsit that day, and he got pissed at me. And he showed me, well, if there is a fucking 24-hour sun, he says, then prove it. How are you going to show this and explain it? Because he really believed there wasn't going to be one, right? It might just be 24-hour sunlight, but not the actual sun in the sky. And he got pissed. He didn't know about the windows. He had not done his research enough. He was not prepared, but acting egotistical and cocky like he got this shit down for us. Then you get the fucking what? Chilling, you looking for a sextant? You got a fucking vape in your bag? Listen, I ain't got time for this shit. Nothing was done. And I told you guys that he was going to scam the shit out of us. And if you guys did not come prepared and you didn't do shit while you were there and you didn't have data when you come back, I was going to call you the fuck out for being a scammer. Then what happens? And I'm not supposed to say anything? Of course I am, because I said it before he went.
Well, I don't really know that all
Maybe
that's
it
fully
is, you know?
warranted in my viewpoint. I don't know if it's all fully warranted. I mean, they took the trip, which was a big thing, and I think it seemed like it was a lot of stress. I hear you that they probably didn't get the best documentation because, yeah, Jeran's video, like, I guess some of the files got corrupted, so his 24-hour sun footage, is like, and I don't even know, has he released that to this day? Even though I know some of it got corrupted, but did he release like the 85% of it or whatever it is? That's
I'll have to check again.
and then
Yeah, I'll check again.
Witset's like camera. I guess Witset's camera broke, and then Witset didn't really have a 360 setup, so then it ended up being. So yeah, I hear you on that side. In terms of other tests, I mean, I hear you. Like they were not like, well, they weren't really funded. You know what I mean? It was almost like they were doing it on like, it seemed like on a shoestring budget. You know, literally shoestring, because I know Witset right before he left, he did a whole stream. Remember that? Like a whole stream, and he was saying that like he barely had enough money to even get the down there, and that if anything happened, like if something came up and he needed an emergency amount of money, he's like, and then Jeran even said right on the stream, he's like, I got you, man. If you need some, you know, meaning like let's say he needed $500 or something, whatever he would need, you know, that, you know, so I mean, so Witset was saying that he was like kind of on his last. So I mean, you know. Yeah, if he doesn't have other money to have other equipment and a whole setup, then like he just like was able to make it basically in that way, and at least you know
guys
was
remember
able
I
to go.
asked this question
And honestly,
specifically about the
his live
equipment that they
stream there,
bring.
to me, it's all worth it of Witset's live stream there, because when he was like, I'm in Antarctica, and he laid that down, that was like just truth saturation that I could tell the validity of it in terms of him actually being there. So I appreciate him, that fact that he went, even if he didn't do all the greatest tests. I'm glad that he went.
I have a problem with the video itself. The one video he did with the blue coat. If you actually pay attention to that entire video, we have really taken it apart. He is not. We're not even talking about the damn vape. Don't give a crap on no damn vape. He literally, the entire time, if you watch his hair, it's just like you watch his face videos. Does not move one entire time. And if you look around, he says, well, there's mountains blocking shit. Dude, there ain't mountains for fucking miles. And if you look completely to your left and right, there's wide open area. I'm sorry, huh, but there would be some type of wind. Your hair doesn't move for 45 damn minutes in that video. He keeps acting like he's cold, pulling his damn scarf up from his neck to his face, back down again. This is all things that people do when they're trying to trick your hunt. He's tricking himself. I mean, he doesn't even know what he's doing right in the moment. Hot breath, all the shit. If you actually pay attention to that video closely, you know you're being played. But people aren't paying attention close enough because they love Witset too damn much. But his hair does not move a single bit. Even a little piece sticking up. Not a hair of wind, nothing of atmosphere. Bullshit.
Love it, Stacey.
Sometimes you guys got to realize when you're being played. And one more thing. Remember that reporter? I talked to somebody now recently, and he actually is from Vanity Fair, by the way, who was here to report on Flat Earth and everybody that I spoke to that day. He's also, when I told you he was linked to Jedi who was involved and everybody else, already linking to him, okay, secretly. So when everything was going down and nobody wanted to listen to me, it actually was right. People need to start paying attention to what's actually happening, and instead of thinking that they know what's going on around them because they trust the people in the room. So be careful for Vanity Fair putting a thing out on us and how we behave as flat earthers. I'm not kidding you guys.
Anybody can take that trip. Anyone can take that trip. I have tons of footage of many other people taking it. So the fact that like when Witset and Jeran wasn't really that big of a deal for me, because like I already had a lot of video evidence that I had looked through and found in terms of like other people taking the exact flight, and some of them even filmed it all the way like from their hotel room going down to where the ALE plane is, which you can then match to see it's the same place that Jeran and Witset when they were boarding the plane, and then the whole site itself. So I mean, Witset and Jeran going was cool in a lot of ways, and those guys going because they did get some additional footage, but it wasn't really anything new. Like I was just looking for where they were going to be confirming all the other footage I'd seen of that site, and it did. In addition to the way the sun moves there. So I mean,
I understand, but I'm gonna be really clear.
It's not like a lot is necessarily hinging on it. But I mean, if you want to post that video, the whatever you're referring to, I haven't really seen anything from their trip that looks fake to me or that's been compelling at all. They did a presentation here, and like QOP left the server in the middle of it, and Rusted Soul, like there was no like substance to any of their arguments, and it wasn't even really an event. But I mean, I know people are saying things out there. You just claimed like a lot there with that one, so I mean, I'm open to see what you have, but or what if you want. I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to share it or whatever.
And I'm not going to call this out, but I'm just trying to be honest here. I remember sitting in the server about 2 to 3 months before the actual experiment, and we sat here with you, and you sat and told me there was no video hardly. We couldn't find shit. Then out of sudden nowhere, you then tell me you called Witsit and you called Jeran, and you told them that you had plenty of videos. Be careful, there is one. I don't know what's going on, but I
Hold
remember
on.
you telling me we went through
Hold
this.
on.
There wasn't
I
shit.
never called Jeran. Please don't make things up.
You
Don't
said that on
do
here.
that. No, I've never talked to Jeran ever. Other than the 3 times I met him, those times I've never spoken to him on the
You
internet
didn't
or
call
in any other
something
way.
Jeran and Witsit
No,
during these times you spent on
hold
the trip.
on. I found the video, the one that took me a lot of digging to find on this company's like a skydiving website where they had a 360 footage of the sun at Union Glacier. And yes, I found that. I did send it to Witsit. Witsit said he sent it to Jeran, so they I guess saw that. I never communicated with Jeran
That way, got you.
in
But
any
not
way.
Jeran.
And I never
Yeah.
said I never found shit. At the very beginning, I was saying it was hard to find footage of the sun in the south. But
There was
over
like nothing.
time, I found more and more footage. And the thing is that it makes sense too, though, because like that's the time when it's nighttime there, when it's the coldest, and that's when they'd be sleeping. So I had to dig a lot more to find those. But by this point, I've found at least like 20 or 30 in total that show it of previous videos, like specifically that
Honestly,
show it.
you might remember that, but I've been going through a lot and traveling in my life. I remember like key points where I was at in my life, sitting and talking to you about certain things like this, especially about this trip and what was going to happen. And if there was any videos, the people that we debated back and forth about Antarctica, hun. And this is why I got upset saying what we didn't research enough, that there was this one spot that we didn't look into, because it was only a couple months before they went. You may have changed your mind, that's fine. But that's not what was said, because I
No,
have
it
to
was a
listen to people that we
controlled.
went
No, I never
against.
changed my
Because we
mind on
did say that.
anything. I never changed my mind on anything. It was we've talked about that this was a controlled rollout, meaning that they gave us
Right.
limited access to Antarctica to potentially roll out this psyop, and it seems like there's been more and more access as the decades have gone on, like since the 70s, 80s, 90s. But I don't know. You just characterized something like I changed my mind. I mean, it's not really fair just to say that quickly and then just keep saying that when I never said I changed my mind on any of that. I mean, there was
No, you
limited
didn't change your
information.
mind. You never
There
said there
was limited
wasn't. We just didn't have any
information back
video.
then. There was definitely limited information back then on footage of the 24-hour sun, and I stand by that today. There absolutely was,
Right.
and I think that was on purpose.
But this was only also a couple of months before it happened. Then everything, I guess people just started changing their minds about a month before it went down. That's how it went down.
My journey is that at that point, I had about 20 total videos of 24-hour sun in Antarctica in total. But at that point, I didn't have any of Union Glacier. So there's already about 15 or 20 out there that exist today of other places, right? So that already existed. Some of them are better than others. Some of those are fake, it seems, especially the early ones that came out. That's a whole other thing. But that already existed. And then when these guys were going to go, I decided like, hey, I'm going to go on and just start to see what I can find on Union Glacier. And yeah, at the beginning, like I definitely did not find very many of the sun in the south. And I was even like, what the heck? But then as I kept digging, I found more and more that confirmed it. And then by the time like they were going to go, I was already telling Witzel like, dude, you're going to see it, like, cause I saw enough footage and people just being nonchalant, like, yeah, the sun just keeps going here. It stays up. The one woman says, she's like, oh, that's the lowest the sun is going to get today, cause it never sets here in Antarctica. And like, I don't think she was like a CIA actor. Like her body language, the whole energy, like she's like a vlogger kind of thing. So anyway, so yeah, that's why I was telling Witsit, like they're going to see it. And I do think it's a real site. I think anyone can go there if you pay the $30,000. I do think you're going to see the sun there, and that's what happens on the Earth. That's how the Earth works. I mean, there's the 2 star rotations and there's the 2 sun rotations. So it matches the stars in the south, the sun path, which is what the way it arcs as well in the south.
It doesn't make sense. Like, how can you have a star over the equator and then the sun over the Antarctic?
So I just don't see any reason for them to fake that trip. Now there could be like weird, like someone decided to like purposely make a fake video and put it out there to fool with people, but I haven't even really seen any evidence of that. But anything that really looks very valid in terms of that, but I guess that could be possible. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's not like I've never been to China, but there's maybe even stronger evidence that China exists, maybe than even this. But to me, it seems like with all the just video evidence itself, it's very strong that site exists. You can go there, and that the sun doesn't set there. And it matches the arc pattern, like when the sun starts going south of the equator and the way it arcs, like the way when they were in Punta Arenas, rising south of east, south of west. That also fits the 24-hour sun effect as you keep going south. So yeah, it seems clearly evident that that's the way the sky works to me. Even
And
though
I'm pretty
I
positive
haven't
there's
stayed
like
in there.
really good evidence of China, like way more evidence of China than this. I'm just saying I've seen a lot of evidence.
Well, I mean, my journey with it is that like evidence for a 24-hour sun in the south, just going off evidence, back in like 2015, 16 was like a 1 or a 2 out of 10, like just terrible. There was like one video, it was awfully fake and just terrible. Then the next year, it like was like they made a little bit of a better one. It was like, all right, you're up to like a 2.5. And then the next year, like Anthony Powell and Robert Schwartz, every year, and I'm kind of joking, but like it's almost like they got a little better. But then there was like a shift where like there were some other ones that came out too that looked pretty good that a lot of us couldn't really even say seemed fully fake. And then there's the latest one, was like the 360 one from like Anthony Powell, and then that all of a sudden like really was looking better. Like we couldn't really like nobody really has like debunked that one to this day. There's like nothing about it that is like outwardly fake that I'm aware of. Like, and that's the 360 footy, the 360 cam one from I think it's Anthony Powell, the 360 cam, his most recent one. So anyway,
Yes. Have you had a look at
that one was stronger. And then with the Union Glacier, when I first started Union Glacier, the evidence I found, I went up to maybe like a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and then I found more to go to a 6, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I was at an 8 out of 10, and then those guys going for me put me from like an 8 out of 10 up to like a 9 point something out of 10. I mean, other than me going there myself, just in terms of the video evidence. I mean, and that's just my journey, which I've shared multiple times, but it's just kind of my own way of like ranking it of how it went. But yeah, there still probably is stronger evidence of China existing. I would agree.
So you're saying the evidence is like the moon landing as technology and time go on and get better, the video evidence gets better. But like NASA and the original moon landing footage is just all garbage. Not that what they're putting out now isn't garbage, but I just think that's the progression of lies as it gets better and better as they go.
I mean, I see the possibility of the way you interpreted that, like that's open to a possibility, but I guess you'd have to find a way to either falsify it or confirm if that's true. I mean, the thing is, when the sun, like when it starts going south of the equator, if you're looking west, it arcs off to the left. Like it doesn't, like on an AE map, it's arcing to the right as it would go around, but it actually arcs to the left. So
No, I disagree. If you've been caught lying, it's the burden of proof becomes yours then to prove that you're not lying once you've been caught lying. And they've been caught. They've been caught faking the 24-hour sun footage in Antarctica. So now that they've been caught faking it, now they have to prove that they weren't faking it, not just come out with better fakey stuff. It's just, I mean, common sense, I think.
I could come up with a reasonable argument, right, that given the conditions, some people went down there to film it, and for them it was good enough. Obviously not good enough for this community. So as a consequence, what happens is like it's sort of we critique it, criticize it, other people might do so as well, and then they'll go try to redo it again, and they're still sort of they're half-assing it. And then because we've re-critiqued it again, it looks like they're constantly trying to fake it as a consequence.
Well, let me ask this. Let me ask this. If they're going to do the trip again next year, right? Like in December, this company, if you guys were on that trip, $30,000 is paid, $40,000, whatever you need for all the same way those guys did, I guess. Now, I'm not saying with Duffy or like under any of that guys. Let's just say like, you had the funding yourself or somebody gave it to you or something. So you're going to go. Do you think that that if you called ALE, the ticket was paid, do you think that you would be able to fly to Punta Arenas? You'd then get on a plane, fly 4 hours south to, an icy place, land there. The sun, everything in every way, will burn holes in paper. Like when Jeranism was using a magnifying glass to burn holes in paper, it'll do that. It's burning your skin the way a sunburn does. Now, I guess you could say that's a fake sun, but I mean, if it's completely like blinding bright, just like have known the sun your whole life, Do you think that you could take that trip in a way? Like, I mean, do you think you could get on that plane and go next December? Because if you're saying it's that they faked it or something like that, then you'd have to imply that you can't just take that trip. You'd have to say that that's a fake trip or something else going on. Otherwise, like you could take it yourself and you could be just like Whitsitt and Jeran sitting there doing the same thing they did.
Yeah. The minor gap, the fact that the sky seemed to open up perfectly for them at that point in time, I find that very peculiar. Given sort of the reports, at least that we were told, like overcast constantly and then overcast and storm coming in after they left. So that's a bit weird.
Yeah, but
So
is
if we're
that like
looking-
purposeful Illuminati planning, or is that like the creator actually just timing things in a way that cleared the skies for what needed to be done, what needed to be cleared for? I mean, that was a thing that was hidden from humanity for like decades.
I'm not sure whether I'd necessarily be willing to invoke the notion that the creator creation would, I mean, serendipitously open itself up like that. Given the fact of like the nature of psyops. So, I mean, well, what is it? Dave Weiss refers to the background skies during 9/11, the 9/11 skies, perfectly crisp blue skies. Now there was a little bit of cloud. Admittedly, it wasn't perfectly crisp like 9/11, but yeah, there's a peculiarity to that. Yeah, I suppose you could invoke the notion that the creator did that, but I haven't got the information to jump to the alternative. Oh, sorry, I do have the information to jump to the alternative in that respect. That this was a setup. I still reserve something of a small aspect that they somehow did a Project Blue Beam and that thing in the sky. Like, that's not to say that you can't take a magnifying glass and do all that jazz and still hit things up. I'm not sure though at that point.
See, that would be like a stronger case if the sun didn't make that arcing pattern that it does in the south. See, if it continued doing the concentric circles like AE, that would be like much stronger. But the fact that it's already arcing that direction, like that's just where it would end up. So like when you're in Punta Arenas or when you live in Australia, when you see the sunset and it's setting way south of west, we know what happens in the north when it's way north of east, or sorry, north of west. Like when it sets north of west and it's arcing that way, we know it does a 24-hour sun. Well, now it's arcing south of west. You know what I'm saying? So like, and that's why it fits their globe model, that's fine. I mean, because it's a celestial sphere. But yeah, so I mean, that arcing pattern would end at a 24-hour sun in the south. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing about like, putting a fake sun there would just be really kind of strange because then like the sun would have to be doing that opposite arcing like in Australia and in South America, and then somehow it would have to just warp and kind of keep going around in circles like I don't even know how it would work, like a warping or something. And then you would have to just get to this southern area, I guess, where the arc thing just like disappears and then all of a sudden there's just a fake sun. I don't know, it's there, that whole transition, there's no
You can resolve that if you if you expand the geometry in the south on the ground and keep the sky in the same sort of aspect. I think it does resolve that. If you just increase the scale of what's occurring at the south on the ground, on the land, so you as a human would be taking a higher vision point. Like what do they say that the height of the plateau of Antarctica is what, 10,000 feet? It's like the highest set land mass or something. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It's something I've been entertaining at least, that notion, because I think it does resolve the solar observation.
If you have the concentric circles going out, are you just saying there's more land because they're larger circles, or are you saying there's like
dimensionally you get bigger? Dimensionally you get bigger.
And
it's
that's
like
why it looks like
I don't know, maybe
the other way. Wait, dimensionally? What do you mean by that? That's wild.
Like you get, I know, it's super wild, dude. But I think it resolves the issue of the observation of the 24-hour sun in the southern hemisphere. At least that. I haven't explored all the other aspects of like it's impinging or like that would sort of impugn that idea. But it does at least resolve that 24-hour sun south. If you just increase the scale of the land in the south maybe I invoke something of the notion that because you're further away from the center of creation, there's less pressure, so the atomic structure begins to expand. And then I'm like, I've got to deal with all this friggin' relativity issue that sort of, it's all relative. Right? It's like, it's relative to where, like, if you're in the south, it's relative to what's going on in the north, and it sort of matches up because we're all observing like the same sky. But it seems to have this sort of, I don't know, warped affect to it.
Yeah, dude. Can
Which
I
is
post
causing
this
the
right in
globe
line?
projection.
Can I
Go
post
ahead.
this right in line with what you're saying? Like, how it links, I don't know, but like, dude, in terms of a 24-hour sun in the south, like, I don't know, it just reminds me of sundogs. Like, look at that reflective phenomenon. Sorry, I just wanted to tag that into what you're saying there.
No, go for it, man. I've finished up. It's not something I necessarily want to argue for. I just I'm putting it forward as like a proposition that seems to resolve at least the 24-hour sun in the sky in the south. But yeah, it does, like, it really does play with your imagination so far as the XYZ and the dimensional understanding that we have. Yeah, so it's pretty fantastical to
How does it solve it?
consider it.
Solve it.
Well, because you're bigger at the outer edges, right? You're taller. You can see further across the land, and then it brings the sky, like, it brings the sun and the activity in the sky more into view. So all of a sudden, you can see right over the top of the entire land, like the landmass of Earth. Who's hot micing? It's like a Stefan hot mic. I'm getting a sense of the hot mics around here too. Did you get where I'm coming from? It's like a bowl.
It was a.
You know, I get what you mean, Rixky. It's actually a good idea because, yeah, it's an expanse that's graded higher, so you're looking across the whole flat Earth. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but you're still limited by like the sort of the field of vision, though. But the sky, because the land, like the ground, expands vertically. I'd say maybe even like widthwise, it has to proportionally, right?
Holy
I
crap!
think this is like Euclidean geometry sort of aspect. I've got to get my head around these sort of terminologies actually imposed, but it would, like, if dimensionally the sky remains the same, but then like on the ground, maybe because you're further away from the center of creation, there's less of this sort of pressure source that's occurring. You just begin to expand, and then that would allow you to then further across just only within the dimension of the sky. Like anything above the horizon remains basically the same. And then all of a sudden you can see further. So you're going to be able to see right across. And that's why you can see the 24-hour sun just coursing across the sky over there. I'd say maybe it'd be ideal to actually go there during winter. They say it's really cold, right? I don't know. Maybe that would be the at least like sort of a junction or like, what do they call that? Like a way to enter the idea. Anyway, just a couple of thoughts.
Way to kill the party with your thought experiment, bro.
It's
My
got
bad.
everybody thinking.
You pondering it?
Well, actually, I've just come up with my own idea. I expanded on yours.
Happy for no, nothing else has
So
happened, bro. May as well hit it.
check out how that sundog I posted, and I'll post like another one too. Like some of these are absolutely amazing. I'm not saying that these are directly connected to a 24-hour sun effect, but I mean you kind of have like where the sun actually is, and then I mean there is some light between these other points, but like there's like this dome that goes over it, and then you have like lights that almost look like suns, like smaller ones on the left and the right, and then also above. And then, of course, you have these lines going on. And then you have a whole second dome. And then you have like a reverse dome at the top. So that's like just incredible on so many levels. But I'm not saying it directly relates, but I mean, there's like, you could say there's like 4 suns there. I mean, obviously, we know there's like the one, what we call the sun in the middle, but like the reflection points on the outer sides. And some of them are even more like that than others. Like the one I posted before at 37 after the hour, like that one at the top, it almost looks like another sun. So I'm not trying to say it has to relate to a 24-hour sun effect or anything, but like there's here I'll post this one too, where it also shows on the sides like that. So like could there be, well basically like could there have something to do with reflection within the actual medium if we can already see this effect being happening in like here.
So what's a little bit interesting as far as my awareness of these phenomena, the sundog, right? It used to happen in the past in cold climates. And then I've got photos in my backyard. I'm in subtropical Queensland in Australia, and I got sundogs appearing in the sky. It was crazy to see this stuff.
I'm posting a bunch of them. Yeah.
I suspect
Okay,
the one
well,
that I was observing was because of sort of their particulation in weather games that they're playing. But yeah,
Dude, look at this one. It looks like an eyeball. Check that out. Isn't that something else?
are you
Like
being
a halo?
careful with where you're getting these the photos from, Geo?
Well, that last one, I've actually never known if that one's real. That one's always been a little bit. We like over the years we've thought like, is that fake or real? Because that one just looks so strange, and I don't know of like the full data. Some of these other ones I know are real though. Like the ones I posted
Yeah,
before that all are. But yeah, that last one's
the
always been a
AI,
little bit funky. Well, that's
the
old though.
AI
I've had that
stuff.
for years, and there are some that look like that though. Like I actually have a diagram. Let me see where that is.
I'm not just like specifically disputing it whatsoever, but because of my attention to what's going on with the weather stuff, I just sort of seen them change all of a sudden. And this AI
Well, check this out.
sort of
Well, just with that
imagery.
last one though, see the thing that indicates that that last one is real is check it out. So that last one, even though it looks almost fake, but see what I just posted there, it shows all of the parts of these sundogs. So you have the
Oh, yeah, I see.
circumzenal arc at the top, the upper tangent arc, 22-degree halo, perihelix circle, perihelia sundog, and then the lower tangent arc. So yeah, it shows all the different parts of it. That's why, yeah, it's like those do exist.
See, I don't
Well, it's a
understand.
sundog. It's just it's the whole thing. Like you're not seeing a half of it. It seems like you're seeing the whole thing.
Yeah, I've been getting back into the computer game over the last couple of weeks. I've been like visually scanning using like a LiDAR on a phone and scanning the internals of like a van so that I can do a little bit more stuff on the computer. And I just don't understand dude, there's so much tech out there right now for being able to re-simulate all of this stuff. I'm a little bit kind of surprised that it hasn't. The concavers, a couple of the concavers have impressed me, at least with their proposals, so far as the their capacity to model, provide like a simulated version within the digital.
well, I guess we can all safely say then that this light on the sky we have called the sun for so long is still there, right? It's still on the sky.
Woohoo! Discipline the child, Martin.
Get the hot stove out.
No, it's fun. I like hearing that stuff. Makes it feel a little bit more real, eh?
Well, that is until what's real gets muted. Walking in the field, it's raining, exposing my son to the cold. It's wind and raining. Of course, there's discomfort, because he's only been in the arms of his mother. You know, it's really warm and cozy and up in a bed.
Yeah, there's nothing like microdosing pneumonia at infant age.
Where's the pneumonia?
Microdosing it.
Where is the pneumonia in the cold?
In the cold rain,
You reckon that pneumonia is just hanging out like, like, what does that mean? You reckon the
yeah,
rain, like,
it's in the
trying to infect you with
droplets.
pneumonia?
If it lands on him, then he's done for.
Man, the
You,
whole world's trying to kill
you know
you,
what
apparently.
fails
Yeah.
to go over the microphone? What fails to go over the microphone is the unspoken words in between his discomfort, where he smiles and is enjoying every moment of it.
So the pneumonia's in the rain. Is rain infectious?
Well,
Pneumonia. No,
that was just a
pneumonia.
case example of how easy one can deceive oneself into believe something imaginary, because one just simply hears the cry of a child.
Bro, we were on a topic, man. So can you mute up? Like you're. I mean, that wasn't the topic, dude. I don't know what you're doing.
We were on the sundogs.
We were talking. Yeah, we were talking about
You were
sundogs,
talking
and then
about the sun.
yeah, we were talking about sundogs. But I mean, were you shifting to viruses or like pneumonia, or is that what you were saying? But
No, he was making a really odd comparison. In between, I giving you real experience of something alive and vivid. But you can go back to talk about your imaginations about the flashy object in the sky. And it will entertain me, because it can't do anything else.
So I was playing around with the P1000. Looks like I can hook it up to my phone, which means I can screen share and then like automatically just like put it on this like chat forum. And I just thought about it because the sky is looking a little bit weird on the horizon at the moment. Ever since I bought that camera, the sky has been covered up by cloud. Like it's been absolutely like monsoonal rains going on. What was that though?
What state are you in, Rixie?
I'm in Queensland, yeah.
He's been drinking. He's in a hell of a state.
Sky won't stop falling around here. So what do you make of the sun
Have you
dogs
tried
then,
to
though,
get
Gio?
those? Have you ever tried to shoot those star rotations that Dingo used to get? What's the name?
No, dude, I just bought this camera. I've
You just
I
got
consider
it.
it my badge of it's my badge of honor. I'm fully like I'm now like I've been inducted into the flat Earth community just buying this camera. It's my
Oh yeah.
my cost of admission.
Did you get the P1000 or the P1100?
P1000.
Nice. It's on my
Bro,
wish
you
list.
should have got the new. Should have got the new.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, same reason. Same reason.
Dude, they didn't improve. It's not it doesn't zoom in anymore optically. And what was the other thing? The sensor. They didn't change the sensor on it. So look, if they went from a 16 megapixel to I don't know, like 32 or higher, maybe 64, it's just kind of interesting actually that they held back some aspects of that would have actually improved it. Beyond that, I don't actually know what the improvements are. Doesn't it?
Yeah, they're not pro cameras.
Yeah, no,
They're
I don't have either one.
consumer
I would
cameras,
take
aren't
either
they?
one at this point, but yeah, it's a little bit down the road yet.
This is
Yeah,
entertaining. Let's hear more ideas.
did you get flooded out, Rixie, with the rain?
The cyclone flooded us. I had to throw it. I
Just
spent
yesterday,
about a
wasn't
week
it?
and a half cleaning up the workshop and trying to get everything back in order. It needed to clean up, man. It was I had a lot of offcuts and they just got drowned out. I was like, oh, I've been holding on to this stuff for longer than it should have.
You get
Thanks for
pneumonia
that.
from
Not
it.
too bad for it.
Why are you holding on to the stuff?
You build a bit and then every so often you use on the right side. I know where I can find that. Got that sitting in the back there. I've been spending since the weather's been so crazy, a lot of work. I'm really considering just converting most of my operation over into working on a computer, buying the material, getting it cut by a professional CNC operator, and then fitting it myself. So kind of slight operational change on my part.
Yeah, great to have the ideas. Now go do it.
Yes, sir.
How can you have such an antagonistic spirit with your child in hand?
Here we go.
What do you mean to say masculine?
No, antagonistic.
Oh, so you need to turn the masculine into something antagonistic. Great. Duly noted.
Oh, that was a pretty tight whip. Why can't you always be that concise, Martin? Honestly.
Because stage has to be well prepared.
I see.
But what's real is simply takes the stage right beneath your floor away from you.
CX, have you ever done a very high dose of dimethyltryptamine? Just curious.
When?
Does that every night when he goes to sleep.
Wait, did he say no? No, I mean, I'm not trying to. We don't have to shift the whole topic to it. It's really just kind of like a singular question. You can answer if you want. Don't if you don't. It's all good. It just randomly came to my head.
He punches DMT every night, Gio. It's in his dreams. There's not too much known about that. Some people have an upregulated sort of testosterone system. I wonder if people have got a upregulated DMT system, which the body sort of just interacts with it metabolically more often or faster or something.
Well, give me the camera. I'll show you exactly what's going on.
The people that just naturally have lucid dreams, for example.
I guess you could connect it to lucid dreaming. you do meet some pretty whimsical people, like just floating about. I go to those festivals, and yeah, there's all sorts of characters going on, and then they just all disperse back into like nominal reality after your mad sort of festival trip together.
Well,
But
but you see, when so many parents are just still left with their ideas about how to raise a child, well, upon actually getting the ground in the ground, or the feet in the ground, the ground in the ground. That was a good one. Nice. Nice
you
one.
set yourself up. Great. Yeah. Self
Yeah,
high
I set
five.
myself up.
Did it.
Great one. But you see, like, you can come on here and you can scream around about your ideas, but like, where is the actual knowledge? Okay, it's created by your imagination. Okay, I'm standing on the ground. I'm looking at this thing in the sky who I can now entitle into, I can mark it and signify it, and here you go. I can create an entire enterprise as to what it is. And still, upon this day, man is standing on the ground looking at flashy object that has been named flashy object. And like still debating, oh, this is what it is.
Well, they're not all
Don't you
doing
see
it.
what the
Some
main
other
enterprise
people
of
are just
deception
getting on with
is?
life. Yeah. There are some other people who are just getting on with it. We just orientate ourselves around this particular subject and topic.
But
Some people don't look at
that
the sky at all.
itself is the main deception. Like, okay, the argument of what it is, that's itself a game of deception.
Yeah, look, man, I got it in my profile, I think, as like debate is a psyop. You know, it causes
And now you're
stratification
confronted with
inherently.
it. Now you're confronted with it. So if debate is a psyop, then, like, what is going on? Okay, we stand on the ground, we look at this flashy object entitled some idea for centuries, and okay, great.
It's just the nature of people with like opinions basically clashing. Okay, all these opinionated people, they're just clashing with one another.
Or it's
It
just a
happens
lot
to
of
be that
fear.
a couple of them are pretty like got a lot of sorcery behind them, and they were able to convince a
Sure
whole
is.
bunch of other guys to follow their
Conviction is necessary for a vile
cosmological.
idea to exist, you see. You only need to convince something by your own insanity for it actually to exist. Like, in the real world, there's nothing such as something being insane.
You don't think that there's anything that's insane?
Well, depends where you want to go with this topic, but I mean, we can go back talking about the flashy object in the sky that we can create some recursing symbology to like attune to it, and then use this symbology in order to like predict the cycles that does indeed reoccur because, well, we have summer, spring, etc.
It sounds to me,
Sure.
Martin, like you're. Like, I mean, I don't know. I am drawn to the notion of like coming to an understanding of the nature of reality, and you're sort of saying that, well, it's not worthy a question. We've got other things to do, or something. Like, what's your inference here?
Inference is really that getting lost in wanting to know what the nature of reality is simply possibly just being lost. And the more you look, the more lost you become, like into the woods, and away you go. Where are you gonna go?
Okay. But if you don't ask the questions at all, then, I mean, how do you know the path that you've trod?
Sure. And you can easily be fooled into the trail as well. And suddenly,
No doubt. The
all you
garden
need to
path.
figure out the way that you're now confusing yourself by, and suddenly you spiral into an endless state of confusion. And you start to see it everywhere. Oh, look at the spiral, it's everywhere. Oh, in nature. Of course.
Well, I put
course,
it to you,
of
Martin, though,
course.
that it's my sort of experience so far as this sort of revealing of like the experience of life. Like, I do go through very intense periods fixating and focusing on these topics and trying to get my head around them, and then you rest. So this is just the nature of it. And once you've sort of come to a conclusion about it, you sort of, I suppose, you put it into action, and you didn't sort of progress any further with it. I've done that a couple of times throughout my course.
Excuse
Probably
adopting
about
the
3 or 4
new man
times.
from you.
Pardon?
Well, could it just simply be what I said too?
That it's a delusion? No, I don't think so. I think you got to ask the questions. You seem to be suggesting that you shouldn't ask the questions or they're irrelevant somehow. But in order to work out whether those questions are irrelevant, you've actually got to ask them and dabble and deal with it. You might come to the conclusion that it was irrelevant, but you're not going to know that until you've actually sort of interacted with it. So,
And who are you to judge now?
I'm not judging. I mean, this is this is a personal testament. Okay, I'm not telling you what to do.
I know you're not telling me what to do.
I couldn't if I wanted to, right?
Well, supposing why you would, but that would be your own desires. It's easy to get in the game of deception, which is to just plaster the new band-aid. Hashtag, here it goes. Hashtag, here it is. Hashtag. But simply, it's possibly really good to discern what's shit from soil. Hashtag shit, hashtag soil. Hashtag listen to the sun crying in the background.
Martin, dude, whatever you're trying to communicate is just being completely overwhelmed in the background. Sorry, bro.
And that's also how easy it is to manipulate the situation into something else. And where's the child now? Where's the child?
I hope he's still with you. Okay.
Hopefully you didn't throw him off on the ground.
Okay.
Just crying. Oh, he's still here. Okay.
Get your hand over his mouth.
Yeah, don't be doing that. But I don't know. That's not an accusation. Who knows, man? What do you reckon, though? People are bigger in the south? Giants. Giants of the
Well,
south.
I reckon it's easy.
I'm just a huge guy compared to you guys, okay? If I came and shook your hand, our hands would fit. It's all relative to something.
I reckon it's very easy to make a lot of bad decisions because one is in a state of fear. Oh, listen to my son crying. Should I now go into a state of fear?
No, but just for the sake of communication on this particular platform,
Obviously not.
It's not
Obviously,
ideal.
yes. Oh, wow. Now I'm holding the child to my chest. We're walking on the ground. In reality, he's feeling the heartbeat upon his cheek. Ah, what is Synak doing? Huh. Wow.
Okay, does anyone else want to get in? We had a bit of a sidebar there from him.
Well, we can look at the flashy object in the sky. I'm right here now in nature, standing on the ground. And I see it. What now?
You got to measure it and tell us about your measurements and stuff, and then I don't know. Then you invoke refraction at some point, and the whole thing just falls apart. So,
What do you mean, put it into my fantasies of how I can somehow imagine myself to come to understand it, but forget that it's imaginary, and then live in the realm of fantasies for centuries, and then
well, you
forget what's
acknowledge that
real.
you should Like you need the vitamin D and all that jazz, right? So yeah, you got to understand it a little bit. You can't just, I don't know, go full vampire and go Night Lord and all that jazz, right?
Well, I might eventually, I guess, build an entire establishment of dissociation from what's true, and then
Unless
still
you
be
want to
on the
live
ground, like
underground,
looking
Martin.
at the
If you
sky
want to live
of
underground,
flashy objects.
you need to know a little bit about like what your interaction as far as your biological interaction with the sky that's occurring. Otherwise, accidentally, you might decide to live underground and you get really sick or something. So that's at least like one point source of knowledge that you should have with the sky.
So what can we do about the flashy object in the sky? Well, possibly just let it stay there, first and foremost.
Well, first and foremost, like as far as health-wise, you need to experience it. You can't just go dig a hole in the ground and ignore it and pretend like it's not sort of relevant to your existence.
Yep.
Otherwise, you become a cave
Definitely am experiencing that
or a
sun.
reptile.
But you see, what sun is more real? The one that I imagine up on the sky or the one in my hands?
That's more of a metaphorical sort of incursion in the conversation.
Oh, and then look, what did the entire establishment do? Oh, fantasize about the sun in the sky, forgetting who the sun was. What now?
Don't know, bro. Whatever you choose.
Oh,
You're the one taking the steps at the
really
moment,
now?
man. I'm
Back
chilling
to
out. I'm sitting
reality,
down. You're
with my
taking
own
all the
sun.
steps in the world.
No longer sun god in the sky. Ah.
Is that what you're saying?
You often say the apparent sun. For the longest of 24 hours circling sun.
Some idea for centuries, and
No, you can see right across towards the outer, you get bigger. But in ratio to the sky, like, all of a sudden it brings the 24-hour sun into view. But I will say I kind of have technically adapted this from Tomb of Illumination's proposition, so it's not my idea. But it does seem to solve the 24-hour sun observation. As you get bigger, you would be able, like, if we infer that the sky remains essentially within its same dimension, but it on the ground it expands out, and you get like physically larger in proportion to the sky. Then it would mean then, as you look across the sky, because dimensionally you're changing in the ground, that you can see further, and thus it brings the observation of the sun in the south into view. You can see right across, right over the entire freaking whole thing, as far as anything that's happening above the horizon.
I didn't follow that. That sounded really crazy, though.
So, just as you would imagine a bowl, like at the center of the bowl, it sits low, and then as you move out towards the outer perimeter, it goes up high. That's the whole function of a bowl. So it contains water or soup or whatever you put in the bowl, right? But as you go towards that outer plane, like there's less, like whatever the material world is, like energetically, the frequency, like it proportionally, as you move towards the outer, you get bigger. But in ratio to the sky, like all of a sudden it brings the 24-hour sun into view. But I will say I kind of have technically adapted this from Tomb of Illumination's proposition, so it's not my idea. But it does seem to solve the 24-hour sun observation.
How would that solve a sun rotating around you? Even if you're standing on the perimeter of a bowl, how would you still have the optical illusion that the sun moves around you?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm drawing it in my mind as we speak. I'm trying to like sort of work out the dimensional changes that would be necessary. I need to draw a picture. I need to draw a diagram that would sort of even sort of hint at it, but it just seems to like just like superficially like considering the idea, it at least resolves one aspect of it. So I gotta draw some diagrams at that point. Good question though. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got another 180 degrees to figure out. But it is very interesting.
Because for the longest amount of time, Jeran and all of them would say 24-hour daylight. Now the observation is a 24-hour circling sun. So 24 hours of daylight could be created through the coffee cup caustic, whereby light is scattered around the perimeter, thereby leaving the sky still light, but not necessarily having the 360-degree rotation around you as the observer. A couple of guys are trying to, I think David Weiss and a couple of them all indicating no, it's all optics and kind of like your personal atmospheric dome. You've got this little dome of vision around you. It doesn't matter where the light goes, the light will still circle your dome for you subjectively. But with Jeranism, he took a magnifying glass and was burning paper through magnifying the light. And I'm not saying that like definitively says that it is the sun, and it's not perhaps an optical illusion when it's on the 180-degree side opposite to the southern side.
What time of day was he burning the paper with the magnifying glass? Like, I guess in the middle of it.
I think he did 2 or 3 attempts. So when the sun was in different locations, but I'm not sure if while it was in the southern area that he also burned the paper, because they were all postulating. No, it's all optical, and it's like how we often say the apparent sun, because it's not the actual physical sun. If you have 2 or 3 observers all looking at the sun, based on the atmosphere, the sun is going to render in different locations, and then we term that the apparent sun. So a couple of guys are postulating, no, this is just an apparent sun as to how it's being rendered in your atmosphere subjectively. But even using a magnifying glass and burning paper doesn't necessitate that it's not an optical phenomenon of the actual sun. I stay in the southern hemisphere in South Africa, and our sun always sets summertime. Like there's never been a hint of anything longer than 8 p.m. But yet in the north, there are areas where it's still light in their sky till 10 p.m., 11 p.m., even if they're not even in that 60-degree north latitude. So you'd kind of expect that areas in the south would also have 10 p.m., 11 p.m. sunlight if it truly were circling in that region. It's just peculiar why no one else has experienced it, even Ushuaia, that lowest most country in South America, doesn't get a 24-hour day. But yet, in this one location, they experienced the circling sun. But then Jeranism's trip was also brought to a premature end a day before he was meant to leave. So I think he was only in Antarctica for 2 days. So there's a lot of question marks. But the circling sun definitely done my head
Done your head in, eh?
So you,
in.
so you're in South Africa somewhere.
Correct, yeah.
Which way do you turn to watch the path of the sun during the day where you are?
The sun's always in our north.
Yeah, I'm asking which way you turn to follow its path during the day where you are.
So I would watch it rise in the east, it would move toward the north, and then it would set towards the west.
Yeah, but which way are you turning?
He's facing north in that explanation.
I'm asking which way he's turning. Not, I know all about,
He's not turning. He's not moving himself. He's observing something in the sky. So
Yeah,
your
but
question's actually irrationally sort of.
It's not irrational. From the morning, where he sees it in the morning, to the last thing he sees at night, which
I turn
direction
left.
does he turn? Left. Anti-clockwise.
Correct.
Okay.
So
From
it's
east
really
Because
a
I
game of
west,
stress relief and coping.
Because when I look at it, I turn clockwise.
because you're in the north and you're facing southwards. Now I'm at 30 degrees south, but the sun is in my north. But in Antarctica, they got a circling sun. The sun traveled to the south.
But in the
We never
north, when it goes around the north for 24 hours, it goes clockwise. And in the south, when it goes above your head for 24 hours, it goes anti-clockwise.
Yeah, but that's simple perception. If you and I are both staring up at a ceiling fan, you're on the one side of the room and I'm on the other side of the room, I'm going to see the ceiling fan circling anti-clockwise, and you on the other side of the room see the fan circling
No.
clockwise.
No, you're not.
Under.
Hold on.
You'd have
Hold
to
on real
stand
quick,
under it.
ElderBear.
No.
Hold on, please. Can I get
Stand
in?
under the fan.
Can I get in real quick? That just doesn't work. Everyone underneath the fan is going to see it spinning the same direction. You can't
No,
explain
that's
this with a
false.
ceiling fan.
That is false. If I'm
No.
standing on the
No,
one
it's
side of,
not.
listen, you and I are standing facing one another. All right? I'm looking at the fan, it's turning from the right toward the left. And you on the opposite side of the room will see the fan
You're not
turning
listening.
left to the right.
That's just
That
not
is
Yeah,
true.
true.
Hold
That's
on,
an
Not
incorrect
ElderBear.
listening.
statement.
It is true. It is true. And you can do this demonstration yourself.
It's demonstrable. You can do this yourself. Everyone underneath the fan is going to see the fan spinning in the same direction.
Not if you're on
No,
either
that's a
side of
different
it.
statement.
If you're he's
Underneath it.
No,
talking
we're talking
about
about
like
under it. Stop.
he's
Stop.
talking
Stop.
about one fan. Hold up. He's talking about like one fan, and if two people are on either side of it, one will see clockwise, one will see counter. But that's not quite what the stars are, because the stars there's the southern and northern rotations outside of you, or I mean, on either north and
That's
south,
confusing, Joey.
rather than one in the middle. He's talking about, isn't that what you're saying, Solar? If there's one fan in the middle and you're both looking at it from either side, it would be like that.
Correct.
It's just confusion, though, isn't it? We're not saying that.
So
Saying standing beneath the fan, you see it turn in one direction, and then in another room, you stand under the fan and it's
No,
turning
it's
the opposite
another
direction.
incorrect statement.
it's not two
Because if
separate
you
rooms.
stood back to back, looking straight up, you're gonna see it turn in each direction.
Don't be ridiculous. The fan is going clockwise or anti-clockwise, always. Wherever you're standing beneath it. It isn't going
Yeah, but
anti-clockwise,
if
it's
you had
going
two people
clockwise.
looking up and one was you stood back to back, it's gonna be turned the other way.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly.
ElderBear, I think what's happening here is like
Thanks, bro.
you're counterclockwise and clockwise, and these guys are arguing from left to right, and that's where the dispute seems to be
I
occurring,
know,
and you
because they
guys
want to
can't agree
confuse.
to the
They want to
terminology.
confuse it.
No,
No,
I
it's
don't
just
think so.
confusion.
No,
Well,
it's
the
not.
fan is
It's really
turning.
not.
The fan. Listen. The
You're
fan
using
is
two
turning
different metrics
clockwise.
of
Wait.
you
The
do.
fan is turning clockwise or anti-clockwise, wherever you stand and looking at it.
Cool. Do you
The fan
guys
is
want to
going
respond
clockwise.
to
You might stand on
the
one side or the other and say it's going
ElderBear?
right to left.
Please.
or left to
cease
right?
for a second,
Why are
ElderBear.
you
I'm
why are
steel
you
manning
doing
you.
that, Rick Sky? Why are you
I'm
doing
steel
that?
manning you because you
No,
guys
you're
go on
not.
like this. Okay. Yeah,
No, you're
this
not.
is happening.
No, the fan is turning. It's turning clockwise or anti-clockwise. It doesn't change direction depending on where you're looking
Okay.
at it.
Would you
Okay,
guys
so don't
like
try and confuse it and try and make some
ElderBear?
story up.
Pause, bro. You've made your claim. Okay. Do you guys want to respond to whether or not specifically it's clockwise or anti-clockwise, rather than using the terminology of left to right?
Well, it seems to be so that he's first and foremost confused about how to even use the tool.
There's no tool here, man. I'm just trying to get you guys, like, some people are talking left to right, right to left, whatever it may be, and another person's using counterclockwise and clockwise. They're not using the same metrics to compare, and then they're having a dispute about it for some peculiar reason. You got to use the
They're
same
asking,
terminology.
they're
But you
answering
get it's a
different
tool.
questions.
So no one wants to
Fan is
dabble with this,
turning.
and ElderBear.
The fan is
ElderBear,
turning.
no one wants to dabble with
Is
this,
the
man.
fan turning clockwise? Ricksky, is the fan turning clockwise?
Very well. Okay, the fan is turning clockwise. Well, where are we going to go
Right.
from here?
So where can you tell me you stand and the fan turns anti-clockwise?
No, it
Asking at
always
the
goes
same time it's
clockwise.
You
going
gotta get above
clockwise.
it. You have to get above it. It's the only way.
Well, if you're looking down on it, it's still going clockwise.
It's a
Do
good
you
point. I don't think there's
recognize that
anywhere you could go, actually. Hold on.
the fan? Okay, you want to go?
No, go ahead, Rixie.
Okay, I think my position would be that you're referring to like the fan at the center, right? And yeah, at the outskirts of the realm, it does turn the other direction. So I would even go so far as to say that, what is it? You've got a fan in the center turning clockwise, and then maybe you've got 4 fans on the outside, like, of the room that we're building here,
Why are you
right? So
doing
1 fan in the center.
this? Why are you
It's
doing
just a thought
this?
experiment, bro. It's a thought
If you
Why
experiment.
are
get on
I'm
the
you
trying to
doing
work it
this?
opposite,
out.
if you get on the opposite side of a clock, though, if you look at a clock, the clock's going clockwise. But if you get on the opposite side of it, it would be going counterclockwise.
Clockwise.
No, it'd be going counterclockwise.
That was exactly the point I was trying to make. Because he
Yeah, but you
made
got to get on the
this
other side of
relation.
it, though.
So,
Not on the other
yeah, so
side of the stars.
let's say there's a glass wall between you and I, and the clock is also being made of glass. And on your side of the wall, you're going to see anti-clockwise, and on my side of the wall, clockwise. It's the
Yeah, but
same
we're all on
clock
the same.
rotation.
Yeah, but it's not
No, you're
analogous. So
not.
we're all on the
You're
same
not.
side. We're all
No,
on the
but we're
same
not.
side of the. We're all on the
No,
same
but
side
we're
of the.
not.
Can you guys hear me?
I can, but you misinterpreting, because he said he's in the northern hemisphere. He's looking southward. I'm in the southern hemisphere, looking northward. So no, we're not in the same room.
Yeah, we're all on the same side of the clock, though. We're all under it. We're all on the same side. No one's on the other side of the clock.
No, so we're talking about the sun rising in the east. For me, it travels toward the north and sets it west. So that's a vertical clock, like a clock on the wall. He's in the northern hemisphere, looking southward. He also sees the sun rise in the east, and he travels to his south, sets it west. So this is a vertical rotation, not a horizontal ceiling fan.
We're talking about the place where it goes over your head, in a circle.
Yeah,
In one
the reason
place it
why the
goes
clock,
clockwise, in another place it goes anti-clockwise.
the reason why the clock is an
Above your head.
analogous. It's above your head, we know. The reason why the clock is an analogous is because we're all on the same side of the clock.
Well, that's
You
what we
can't make
just
it
seen.
work with just one clock, one ceiling fan, whatever. You have
So
multiple
is there
clocks
2
or
suns?
multiple
Is
ceiling
that what
fans.
you're saying?
No. This is why I was trying to add in more fans before, bro. But you got so caught up in it, you just wanted to cut it down.
Go ahead, more fans.
More fans.
Impossible to explain then, eh?
Why?
You gotta have
Because you
at least
think
another
that
fan, like
what you're observing in
Geo
the
said.
sky. Sorry, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead, man.
So you think that the sky needs to comport with the ground, like the necessary physics that are occurring here have to be occurring up there? Dark matter, like, is a real problem for the heliocentric model, man. Like, they can't explain it. Then I can like basically impose that like whatever they're deeming to be like this material realm up there, like whatever the lights are, they're not this physical thing that you're referring to. Thus, in order to explain it, I don't need to make it comport with our material experience. It just doesn't need to occur like that. So yeah, we can go to other places and have different ideas as a consequence. Your dark matter essentially allows for that.
I haven't got any dark matter. What do you mean?
Well, if you want to like imagine that the sky is necessarily material, yeah, and what you're observing, like everything you're referring to is like, I need an explanation of the sky, and your explanation is still held within the material paradigm, then you've noosed yourself already. Like you've hamstrung
Your
yourself.
brain in it. Is this the brain in the jar stuff you're into now?
Definitely not. No. I'm not that.
I
I'm
didn't
not that
ask for
far gone.
explanation. I just said it's an observation. It goes
Yeah, but if you're saying
clockwise
it,
one way
like,
and anti-clockwise in another place.
that's
And then
fine.
you'd have to
What's wrong?
wonder, how does that work
That's because you're
in
imagining
reality?
that you're yeah, but that's because you're like in some way, right? That you're imagining yourself on a moving world, and all we're
You've
saying is
already
that like
said
these
that
are aspects of the sky.
you've already said you turn anti-clockwise when you follow the sun for you. I do something quite opposite.
I don't turn anti-clockwise when I observe the sun. The sky is
You said that
turning. I'm not
yesterday. You
turning.
told me that.
I'm not
When
turning,
you follow
sir.
the path of the sun,
You
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 turn
need to if you're,
anti-clockwise.
but Rick, you need
You
to if you're
keep,
going to enter BDSM fantasy.
pardon? ElderBear
Um,
just seems to like leap to these accusations all of a sudden. Like, you said this, and you said you
Not
were
an
turning. I never said I was
accusation.
turning.
You
I'm
said
not
that to me
turning.
yesterday when I asked you about it.
I'm not
You
turning,
are
bro.
turning if you follow the path
ElderBear, if
during the day.
you use it,
Well, I've heard ElderBear say that. I think 5.
It's a reference, really, isn't it? The sun goes above one's head in one place clockwise and above your head in another place anti-clockwise.
That's the 6th time.
Yeah,
dude.
well,
You
there you go.
can't see clockwise or anti-clockwise. You
Uh,
like, I can't see the complete circle of the sun. All I know is
oh,
that it
geez.
rises
You
on the
can
right.
stand under a fan, huh?
ElderBear, dude,
Don't be
I'm
daft.
already tired of your jeering so far, and I don't actually understand why you want to make an enemy of me, right? So I'm gonna be,
yes, but Rick, you're doing it in a sort of meandering way.
Yeah, Whiskey, no one's attacking you, dude.
It's all
dude.
good.
He invoked like no. One second. ElderBear said,
No,
"Well,
no, you're justifying
If
take
it.
the
you're talking,
Okay, please just move on, dude. Just the guys are asking you
yeah,
a question. All they're asking you is for your answer, not for your explanation of how we got here. Yeah?
exactly.
Actually,
I
I'm
Just
just
not
move
want to
trying to
know
on,
where
dude.
you
explain how we
turn.
got here. I'm not trying to explain like Big Pond. What the fuck? I don't know what's going on to me. I'll take a step back because obviously I'm like,
Yeah.
No one's got something
You just
more
want,
to add.
if you want.
Well, it's very two-dimensional, especially that boomer.
Not necessarily head first. You could go quote him, but it was I heard something.
like just that terminology, but it's kind of interesting to see someone try to grapple with that, and how they would actually go
With
about
what? With
proving
what, bro?
otherwise.
What was the thing? What was the
Okay,
what was
so
the
it was very aloof. What he wanted to do was like first and foremostly like propose that certain sort of institution, like engineers, should get together with, you know, like whatever optical engine, like light engineers, I don't know, whatever the case may be. And he was like, okay, we need to create a couple of different groups. They're going to go all out. And he was talking about more the social dynamics of how you would arrange it in that way, not specifically anything about like the particular means by which they should do it. He was talking about arranging people, and the way that the idea should actually be sort of approached. Do you hear where I'm coming from?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of remember something,
Yeah.
but nothing came out of it.
Yeah, a bit of a nothing burger, apparently.
Pretty sure I saw. I think it was on the Flat Earth Roundtable. I just heard David Weiss say something like, "Oh, Dr. Shiva just never got back to me," or something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to quote him, but it was. I heard something to that effect. So, I guess whatever the interaction was, I don't know if that means he never will get back to him, or maybe just he isn't getting back to him for now. Or, I mean, I think it was on that. I think that's the only place I've seen David Weiss lately is on that Flat Earth Roundtable. I watched like the first hour and a half. I was kind of trying to watch it at 2x speed, so I think it's on there. But yeah, I think I heard him say that. So yeah, I don't know if it's just a complete like he didn't get back to him permanently or just delaying
You can't ask
communication.
these questions. You can't ask these questions to the institutions. Like they just do not want to entertain it. Yeah, it invokes that sort of that whole conspiratorial sort of mind fracturing imposition.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe he had a talk with David Weiss and was like actually maybe a little bit inspired, and then possibly kind of recoiled back, like, oh, gee, do I really want to make this choice? You know, like because some of these people they may not really know what's beneath this. They may just think, oh, of course the Earth's a globe, and oh yeah, people want to test it, let's for the sake of science, sure. But in reality, because some of these people they may not really know what's beneath this. They may just think listening.
You good? I had to stop and think about it too for a second. Like, wait, which way am I? Which way am I turning here? I had to put myself on different sides of clocks. I mean, give Rixie a break. He doesn't even know how kangaroos work.
Well, you have
Don't
clock
forget, the
and
camera in
you
the
have
south did turn anti-clockwise. Okay, remember?
you have
Camera
clock.
in the south did turn anti-clockwise.
You have clock and anti-clock, and you have arc and anti-arc.
And an arc
Well,
is
this is
part of
pretty clear
a
cut.
circle.
Yeah, you have the Arctic and the anti-Arctic. You have the clock and the anti-clock, clockwise and
Yeah,
anti-clockwise.
but they saw the whole rotation, all of the arcs, not just a part of it.
It's not just they, dude. There's a lot of people that have taken that trip, man. It's not like their trip really made that big of a difference. I mean, I don't know if you've looked into all the other footage and all the other evidence, but their evidence is just a small piece of the overall picture. It's not like that really changed that much. I mean, it's cool that they went and got some additional good footage, but it's not really that different from what we already knew. I don't know how long you've been in this, but
Okay, I'll let you go. Got to visit a friend with a heart issue.
Bye.
Sorry, I came in a little late. Are you guys saying that
Travels.
the sun in the south rotates the same direction as it does in the north?
Oh yeah. Here we go again.
oh my gosh, were you even listening?
I
Oh
was trying to
goodness.
follow.
Mic check. Can you guys hear me?
A
A
little
little
bit.
bit.
You're kind of warbled.
Sorry, I'm driving at the moment.
Pretty hard to hear, but give it a shot. We'll all try to squint our ears to listen.
Squint our ears. How do you squint your ear? That's
So
funny.
what we're trying to say is that it is definitely optical, and it's based on your position, whether you're facing north or south, whether you're going to see clockwise or anti-clockwise, regardless of it being exactly the same motion. But then they were arguing, saying, no, we're all in the same room. Therefore, the motion can only be one motion. So that's where it became disconnected. Is that what Rix and I were trying to say was that it's optical, whether you're facing north or south. And then he was saying, no, you're definitely, it's a true anti-clockwise, true clockwise rotation, which cannot be explained on a flat earth. Which is why I posed the question to the ball loop, saying, well, if we know the sun is stationary, all rotating in one direction, to try and get him also to acknowledge that it's optical. That whether you're facing
So
south, you see clockwise, and when you're facing north, you see anti-clockwise. And it's just based on perception.
Yeah, it's perception of where you are in the clock. This is what I wasn't getting. Like these guys were sort of imposing. Well, not imposing. I should be kind. They're just conceptualizing it differently. Like the sun, still to me, like I'm imagining its center point about where it's turning, and I say it turns clockwise. And they're asking me the question of like, if I was to turn to follow the sun, then I would need to turn anti-clockwise. And I mean, that's the breakdown as far as I can like most concisely make it. And this is a dispute of like the description that was occurring. I would need to turn anti-clockwise to follow the sun. But if I imagine where the sun is centrally rotating around, is rotating around like clockwise. If I'm to face north.
Yeah, correct. But again, it's sort of a top-down or a bottom-up perception. Because if I'm looking down at the sun's rotation clockwise, but if I'm looking up at the sun's clockwise rotation, it's now anti-clockwise. So even that is
we all look up towards the sun though. Like we're always looking, right?
Correct.
That's a central tenet of the argument. No one's going on top of the sun.
But you were saying if you think about the sun's motion around the north central point, that's looking from top down, correct? Because if you're standing looking up at the sun moving clockwise around the point, you would observe it being anti-clockwise.
I've already imagined the notion that the north and the south flip at some point, and the sky becomes the ground, and the ground becomes the sky, and it's like an X-wave or something. But it wasn't working, so back to another model. But can you imagine?
Yeah, because ElderBear didn't really even make any point about it. Kind of asked, what are we observing, whether it's anti-clockwise or clockwise, and then just did like, that's interesting. So he didn't even go the next step of saying what that implied. But
what I found a little bit interesting in the course of the conversation is that people seem to connect really well with ElderBear's explanation. So like it causes kind of like something of a bias. I don't know exactly what my explanation. I don't know how to characterize it necessarily. But just the dynamics that was occurring there, like it seemed that some people gravitated towards that explanation. Other people were like more inclined to, I mean, whatever. If I consider myself the opposition at that point, then they were sort of asking questions like I was.
It wasn't really an explanation. It's an observation, right? I don't think ElderBear was trying to explain anything. He was just saying what we observe. Is that not the case?
No, he was saying what he observed, and he was trying to counter it.
It's an explanation of observation. So we're always have to.
He was wrong all along. He was wrong about his own. That's why he left. He failed.
He's been doing this. He's been doing this almost daily for quite a while now. He's just doing the thing kind of almost like Jeranism. He's just bringing up, the 24-hour sun. You guys, people used to say the AE map. That's kind of what ElderBear is kind of his shtick a little bit. He'll say, people have been telling me the AE map and the concentric circles, but it doesn't do that. It does the two rotations. How do you explain it? Then he just keeps asking over and over to try to get people riled up.
Has he got content? Like, does he create content? Is he a content creator? It seems to me like when his leading questions are always sort of orientated like that. So it's not. I don't know. I don't want to impugn his character or anything, but is he a creator? And like in the sense that he releases information, sort of argumentation.
Not that I know of.
He thinks like, he sort of thinks.
I'm not sure. Boomer. He might have a channel. He used to go on like Nathan Oakley's, I think. He's kind of into the Oakley thing, maybe, but maybe I don't know if he goes there frequently. Yeah, right. But he brings Oakley up almost every time. So
he's like a reporter of sorts, right? Sort of like he goes into different places and he sort of asks leading questions and sort of tries to get to the source of it. In that sort of like that classical way that we sort of view reporting, like stereotype of news and whatnot. No, I don't know.
Isn't the ElderBear one of the Bevidians who hangs out mostly in the that right thinking?
Sorry, I think a Bevidian. A Bevidian, is that a?
Yeah, we call them Bevidians. That right thinking's fans.
You used to call them.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, not that right. Yeah.
You used to call them Bev, or not you, but some people used to call them Bevites. Remember that?
I call them Bevites. Really?
Yeah, people use
What,
it.
what's that? Like, what's that coinage? What is the like? How would you define a bevite or whatever? That's curious.
Overly semantic. They are flat earthers,
Okay.
deny being flat earthers.
It seems to be something of a sort of like a gaslighting operation in some ways. Like, not to say that it actually is, but it would lead to presumptions of like, you know, like you got to point a finger at some point and say like, there's insanity over here. Look at these guys. If it's all sort of this solipsistic modality of discussion, like I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to make of it. It's a new phenomenon that I've just realized, and apparently you guys are like you're aware of it. So
There's some amount of gaslighting, in fairness, but I don't think that's their main thing. I think mostly it's just sort of a philosophical linguistic thing that they really hunker down on.
sure, yeah. It's like a limbiness
Well, most
and
people,
sort of expression of like their internal psychology in a lot of ways. And it's not to say like I think we all experience one another's internal psychology when we have these discussions, but
yeah.
if they sort of
But you can
culminate
see,
around a certain idea and expression, then that's very fascinating sort of social implications.
well, it's very two dimensional, especially that boomer generation was brought up this way, not to think out of the box, either right or wrong.
And I think like I would argue it seems to be a little bit more dimensional. Like it's not black and white like that. It seems to, I mean, at least it seems to encourage conversation, right?
They never got back to him or just dropped communication with David saying in general. We're just kind of
If they sort of
But
culminate
see,
around a certain idea and expression, then that's very fascinating sort of social implications.
well, it's very two dimensional, especially that boomer generation was brought up this way, not to think out of the box, either right or wrong.
And I think like I would argue it seems to be a little bit more dimensional. Like it's not black and white like that. It seems to, I mean, at least it seems to encourage conversation, right? Like they're constantly asking questions, and like, it's a comparison of ideas. So they're performing something of a dialectic process. They're like, this person says this, that person says that. How do we compare these ideas?
I'll tell you who else. Ruhif does the same thing. He just sits and repeats the same question for 45 minutes until everyone just gives up.
Ruhif is hammering an idea home a little bit more so than these guys that are sort of performing something of a dialectical analysis. I don't see Ruhif doing that too much personally, but I don't know.
But he's always wrong.
Well, there's a fine line about. I'm not saying you guys are doing this per se, but there's a fine line about talking about other people when they're not here. However, there is like commentary that can be said on, especially when there's public shows and live streams and stuff that people have been on. So I mean, it's fair game to a degree. And I don't think it's really crossing the line of the combo. I'm just saying in general, we're just kind of commenting on things. But I will mention this was on the live stream. Remember, this is kind of an example. You guys were talking about Bev a little bit, but remember a week or two ago when Bev was in here talking about that Dr. Shiva character, the Dr. Shiva at MIT and all this stuff. Well, I heard David Weiss say one little short clip. I heard David Weiss say, I think it was on that Flat Earth Roundtable, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "Dr. Shiva just never got back to me." So like, there's just like a complete nothing. And I mean, I guess like there was some communication that happened between David Weiss but it was just like that whole thing was like hours and hours about what tests are we gonna do for Dr. Shiva, but it was just like a complete nothing. Apparently, like he just never got back to him or just dropped communication with David Weiss, I guess, or something to that effect. So it's just kind of interesting that
it kind of was an interesting point to bring up, that his sort of animation towards the notion, I don't know, maybe should have been a little bit more reserved or something. Like, I thought he was asking interesting. Like, if you could get a guy like Shiva to actually look at this and ask the questions and then perform, like he's an MIT professor, is he not? And it's kind of interesting that he was calling out the whole medical system stuff. So, like, I think he's worthy of like sort of like paying attention to as far as like the way that he behaves. What do you think?
I gotcha. I actually don't know much about him. I only heard Bev talk about it, then I heard David Weiss, because I haven't really like listened to whatever the other thing. Maybe David Weiss did a whole show where he talked or met the guy. I just haven't seen any of that. So I just heard Bev mentioning it, and then I just heard the one little thing of David Weiss saying that. Yeah,
he was. Yeah, Bev was obsessing over it though. I do recall like being, like listening in, and yeah, he was making a big point of it. Like this seems to be like a sort of media like presentation. Like he's on the ground, he's asking questions. Like something's happening in a certain place. Like so. Take the notion of like general journalism, like, you know, like events occur in places, but when it comes to these sorts of topics, it's actually eventful, like on the internet. Bev is sitting there trying to create a conversation around this sort of latest interaction between this alternative idea being FE and this interaction that occurred with what would be considered to be establishment sort of paradigm, and like the way that would interact. But you know, funnily enough, it turns into a nothing burger, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to see something. So.
What was that Shiva thing again? What was that? I forgot what that was.
So Dave Weiss did a presentation of Flat Earth with Dr. Shiva from MIT. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like he's very domineering in his conversational style, and I don't want to go into the sort of details of what occurred. I listened in on what happened there, but he was very like sort of diminutive about the way that in which the process should occur. But it was kind of interesting to see like someone actually take command of the notion, like, okay, we're gonna try to put this to bed, and someone inside of the whole sort of the system, as it will, like just that terminology. But it's kind of interesting to see someone try to grapple with that, and how they would actually go about.
What was the thing? What was the?
Okay, so it was very aloof. What he wanted to do was like first and foremostly like propose that certain sort of institution, like engineers, should get together with, you know, like whatever optical engine, like light engineers, I don't know, whatever the case may be. And he was like, okay, we need to create a couple of different groups. They're going to go all out. And he was talking about more the social dynamics of how we would arrange it in that way, not specifically anything about like the particular means by which they should do it. He was talking about arranging people, and the way the idea should actually be sort of approached. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Right. Okay. Yeah. I kind of remember something.
Yeah.
But nothing came out of it.
Yeah, a bit of a nothing burger apparently.
Pretty sure I saw. I think it was on the Flat Earth Roundtable. I just heard David Weiss say something like, "Oh, Dr. Shiva just never got back to me," or something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to quote him, but I heard something to that effect. So I guess whatever the interaction was, I don't know if that means he never will get back to him, or maybe just he isn't getting back to him for now. Or I mean, I think it was on that. I think that's the only place I've seen David Weiss lately is on that Flat Earth Roundtable. I watched like the first hour and a half. I was kind of trying to watch it at 2x speed, so I think it's on there. But yeah, I think I heard him say that. So yeah, I don't know if it's just a complete like he didn't get back to him permanently or just delaying.
You can't ask these questions. You can't ask these questions to the institutions. Like they just do not want to entertain it. Yeah, it invokes that sort of that whole conspiratorial sort of mind fracturing imposition. Right?
Yeah, it sounds like maybe he had a talk with David Weiss and was like actually maybe a little bit inspired, and then possibly kind of recoiled back, like, oh, gee, do I really want to make this choice? You know, like because some of these people they may not really know what's beneath this. They may just think, oh, of course the Earth's a globe, and oh yeah, people want to test it, like, you know, for the sake of science, you know, sure. But in reality, once they start thinking about like, okay, how is this going to threat their possible career, their reputation, their family life? You know, they start to see some of the trolling that goes on, some of the shenanigans. They start seeing the attacks that it's getting. And I'm just totally speculating. I'm not saying with this guy that's the case, but I'm just saying in general with things like this, it could be the case where there could be kind of a recoil, like not, you know, that they're not really going to actually take the steps forward.
There are certain doors in this world that you do not want to knock on, and for some people, there are certain doors that they just can't handle. And the institutions, as they sort of align themselves, seem to sort of, I don't know, they seem to require like a certain percentage of people to be inspired and to overcome the institutional sort of control, for lack of a better word. Kind of curious, like.
I'm pretty sure when they grant interviews and all that, I'm pretty sure the questions are put in advance, and they check them, and I'm pretty sure they have this down. Like, there's no way one of us is going to get to talk to any of those dudes. No way, bro.
Julie acknowledged that for sure.